exciting books offering you all a chance to discover fresh perspectives and captivating narratives. So explore our collections and get ready to turn the pages. The first book all set to unveil is by Penguin Publication titled What's Your Prize, Mr. Shivaswamy? So I request R Dattatri sir and Rupa Pai ma'am to the stage. Once again welcoming you both to the Anavarana platform. I now request you to unveil the poster over there, sir. Thank you. Now I hand over the stage for the conversation.
Good morning, everyone. Namaskara. Here we go. Delighted to be here as part of the Book Brahma Literature Festival second edition and to be part of the Anavarana stage, and particularly to be with Mr. Dattatri to talk to him about his first of his novels that has been translated into English by himself. So in the Kannada original, it was called Ondondu Talege Ondondu Bele, and it won the Book Brahma Award for the best Kannada novel of 2023, I think. 2023. Yes. So it's my absolute privilege to be talking to him about the first of his novels. He's a very acclaimed writer in Kannada, but I hadn't heard about him until this book came out, which is quite a pity. It's a real shame actually, because he's a very acclaimed author in Kannada. But you know that only increases the case for good translations to be part of our literature, and that's why a festival like Book Brahma becomes so important, where people of literators and authors of different languages come together, and there is a conversation between people of different languages, because that's the only way to get our Kannada literature and every other literature out into the world. And particularly in English, it's important to get it out because then it becomes global, as we have seen with Van Mushtaq's Booker Prize winning novel. Okay, so Mr. Dattatri, this is the problem because your name is M.R. Dattatri. I read it as Mr. Dattatri first of all. And then the name of the novel is What's Your Prize, Mr. Shivaswamy. And once I read the novel, I have such a deep identification of Mr. Shivaswamy with you. that I keep feeling like I should call him Mr. Dattatri. Vasu just told me that you are called Datta by your friends and admirers, but please may I call you Mr. Dattatri for the duration of this, because that's how I think of you in my head. Okay, so yeah. Okay, but what I really enjoyed reading this novel. It was an easy read, deceptively easy, so you read it very quickly and you felt, okay, it was a nice novel, easy. But it stayed with me and didn't go away. And then I kept thinking about, he has a very evocative way of writing and bringing the present and the ambience and the situation to life very vividly. So you feel you're in it, you're in his head, you're inhabiting his head. And it's not an unfamiliar place because we have all been there in that situation ourselves. So that's why it makes it a very, very wonderful novel to read. And to get you all into the mood, what I'd like to do is start by reading a little bit so that you get a sense of how he writes and what the book is about. Oh, Vanamala, hi! Yeah. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see Vasu and you and Sophie and lovely writers here. Okay, so I'll start with reading the very first chapter. Shivaswamy should not have gone to that interview. A man of 62. A man of 62 should have at least a tiny semblance of reality. It was an act of self-flagellation, really. He had known what might happen, but he had never imagined it would hurt him this much. He cursed himself 1,000 times for going there. So now already your interest is deeply piqued. Who's this? Why is he so miserable? What interview is this? It was not just an interview. It was not just the interview. Nothing went his way that day. Bad luck stalked him throughout the day, the kind of day astrologers call a Shani Dosha, filled with unheard of difficulties. For the first time in the history of the Bengaluru Metro, it's nice that we're reading it today when the yellow line has just been inaugurated actually. For the first time in the history of the Bengaluru Metro, all the trains on the green line were stopped for nearly 45 minutes because of a technical glitch. When the trains resumed service, the station was overwhelmed by a crowd large enough to fill 10 trains. The unbearable heat outside was intensified by the delayed monsoon. The black coat, soaked in sweat, clung to his body after years of disuse. The crowd was noisy, and the child beside him cried incessantly. He decided to call the company to let them know he was running late. He dialed the number of the person who had arranged the interview. She didn't answer. Frantically, he looked up the company's details on his mobile and called their front desk. The call was redirected to the company's head office in Sadashiv Nagar, not the Dickinson Road office where he was headed. Explaining his situation, the receptionist proved futile because she barely spoke above a whisper. With his free hand pressed against his other ear, he struggled to hear her over the child's piercing cry 1 meter away. Then, as the trains resumed their journeys, the rush prevented him from boarding the first 2 trains. Finally aboard, he found himself trapped in a space so tight he could only wiggle his toes. His neatly ironed clothes now bore the wrinkles of his ordeal. So it goes on like that, and he finally reaches almost an hour late. And he had been in HR himself. He had mastered the art of questioning others, not answering as an applicant, but now he was going to be on the other side of the table. So he's thinking, after a lengthy technical interview, when it was his turn, he would ask a few HR questions and jot down the words, "The candidate possesses adequate communication skills, her attitude is satisfactory," thus considering his role complete. This was only the second time in his life that he was giving a job interview. A daunting 35-year hiatus separated the first and the second. Would he have written his attitude is satisfactory about an applicant who was an hour late? His brain ached. By the time he reached, he felt utterly drained. The pain in his knee had flared up after he had raced up and down the metro station stairs. The heat and humidity were unbearable. Sweat streamed down his face, soaking his South Indian salt and pepper moustache. A musty odor assaulted his senses when he tried to wipe it away with his handkerchief. To add to his troubles, he felt an urgent need to visit the restroom. We shall leave Mr. Shivaswamy there in his misery and we shall proceed. But do you see how he has created that atmosphere in the first few paragraphs? But as a Bangalorean, Dattatri, I have spent 20 years of my life talking up Bangalore to people. Okay, I read heritage walks, I write about Bangalore. Go on saying Bangalore is amazing. And one of the things I say all the time is the weather is amazing. And you have destroyed my vision of Bangalore in the first opening pages of your novel. And this is not the only time. I didn't read, but there are so many references to scorching, heat, musty, humid, sweaty. Does Mr. Shivaswamy inhabit a different Bangalore from mine? I must ask you this on this lovely day.
Yes and no. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining today. And a special thanks to Popeye talking to me today. When Rupa was talking to me, I was quite expecting the first question to be on Bangalore. Because after all, she's the author of Becoming Bangalore, a wonderful book on Bangalore. So I was pleasantly expecting her resentment on Bangalore's weather. So indeed, it's true that for the most part of the year, Bangalore generally enjoys moderate climate. It's probably a week or 10 days of stinging heat. I don't call it intense heat. It's severe for me, one who comes from the Malad Hills, but definitely not for the others, those who have lived in the other metro cities or those who are from other part of Karnataka. And particularly, your question is most valid, knowing the fact that my protagonist Shivaswamy moved to Bangalore from Ghaziabad.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
he should have.
I didn't know the weather there. But I want to tell you this. The heat depicted in the opening chapter as well throughout the novel is largely metaphorical. It's not the heat, the external heat. It's the heat within. The anxiety, the pressure, the unfamiliar tempo of the city. The city which he thinks he knows, but in reality he doesn't. it's mad rush. Now all those things make him sweat. And you already read it. Imagine this guy. He's a senior citizen with some health issues and traveling in a packed metro wearing his black blazer. And that's the one, the black blazer is the one he's wearing after 35, after 35 years. And there could be his balance code. And see, imagine him like this. He's a public sector retired employee, spent 2 years after retirement at home, now going for a job interview. An interview which is facing, this is just second one, now it's first one which happened 35 years ago again. And the contrast is, this time the interview is happening in a software company. And he is as modern as his night code. And to add to that, he is running late. He is running late because of the reasons beyond his control. So as a matter of fact, the same opening chapter draw parallel with Sherikate, where the cascading of misfortunes happened to Raja Vikramaditya, right? So whatever he does, our similar things happen to Shivaswamy. So it's mostly figurative, and he's sweating not just because of sun. He's sweating because what he has become after moving to Bangalore. And here's the thing, I should give credit to Bangalore City because Bangalore City takes all the blames, risking its admirers like Rupa Bhai to save a senior citizen's space. I will stop there.
Yeah, and in fact, in one of the panels which I didn't read in the first chapter, you also write about when he's in the metro and suffering, and there is a child crying. He says, of course, you can't tell Bangaloreans. If you tell Bangaloreans a story, none of them will agree. This cannot happen in our metro. As if our metro is something very different from everybody else's, and anything painful cannot happen in our city. Okay, so is this, you are not from Bangalore yourself, you didn't grow up here. Is this something you have noticed about people from Bangalore, that they complain bitterly in private about their city? But should somebody else from outside say anything, they will defend it to the death. Is that something, and is that an admirable quality or not, according to you?
Oh yes, absolutely. Now see, Bangalore is different their city. And I can share my my experience. This is my first time experience. I was managing overseas project a few years back. A few years back. The projects in the places like Bahrain, and Dubai, and other places in the Middle East and in Southeast Asia, Philippines, and other places. And usually, I used to take my teams there to those places to complete projects. And generally, my teams composed of the engineers across India. And they are mostly from my company's other branches. And they were all, the great engineers, friendly people, and they were working very coordinated way. So everything was fine, but generally during the dinner time, the arguments between them, the debates like, whose city has the best airport, whose city is the cleanest, and whose city has the management office, this kind of arguments. And I, being the boss of the team as well, relatively aged person used to sit at the corner and quietly watch them. And Bangaloreans, they were never behind, in defending their city, never. So the only thing was that, whenever the traffic question was thrown on them, would hesitate. There was a Brahmastra was in other's hand. So believing that, they were fine. You know, um, every city carries its own unique psychology. And when you live in that city for a number of years, for decades, you become part of that psychology. And a city makes an impression on you not much through its landscapes or its streets or its rich shopping malls. It's more through the living experience it offers. And the more number of years you live in a city, the more living experience you gather from that city. And psychologically become more close to that city. And you get more aligned with that city. Take recent the incident, right? The RCP celebrations. Lots of people assembled there, although unfortunately it ended with a tragedy event. But why did they come there? It's not just out of their love or the prayers, though it was there. So often those players were wearing jerseys with their city's name. And they were supporting a team because they believe that the team represents the city. So that kind of deep-rooted love is there for Bangaloreans.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm only going on about Bangalore, not because I am a Bangalore person, but because the city is so much a character in your book. It's not just a backdrop, it is what is making, it is sort of a mirror of his own mind. The clamor and chaos outside is Shivaswamy's mind. And basically, what you have said, or what I read into it, was that in a city, every soul has a price. Okay, so what is your price? How much? What can get you to my side? Is that a product of capitalism or general exploitation which exists in human life? And is it an urban phenomenon? Do you see it as much more an urban phenomenon, or is it no different in a rural?
It's there everywhere. The two themes run consistently in this novel are exploitation and a kind of sense of loss.
Loss, yes,
Loss.
yes.
That also counts.
Yeah, yeah.
And the exploitation is, this is particularly visible in in the corporate sector, where it's very distinct. And see, especially in this novel, almost if you take few characters, they try to exploit each other consistently throughout. That's the hard truth of the modern world, modernity.
Yes, it's tradition.
And some of those exploitations are visible, they are direct, and some of those the other exploitations are all subtle. Subtle. And in the modern world, we are getting exploited, and sometimes you don't realize that you are getting exploited. Another thing happens. So that's the theme I try to explore. And since a lot of action happens here in the corporate world, you see that exploitation throughout. The second one is the sense of loss. Actually, my protagonist feels more than that exploitation, this sense of loss.
Yes.
That's more significant for him, that loss.
Yeah.
If you see here in this novel, she was so losing this
First,
10 minutes. Okay. Losing his old values is really this sense of loss.
yeah,
Sense of loss. He's
grew up in a
he grew up in a mud, and he could adjust to Bangalore.
yeah.
So that was kind of that his struggle is the sense of loss.
Yes. Not only that, many losses are happening at the same time. He's feeling a sense of loss of his dignity. He's not empowered anymore. He feels a sense of loss of control. whether it comes to a generation gap,
Exactly.
and his wife is away taking care of his daughter in America during her pregnancy, so he's missing his sounding board
Exactly.
at home, the one that keeps him.
So at the end, I capture that two losses. Right?
Yeah.
So one is, he loses his book.
Yeah.
Vachana. Vachana.
Yeah.
That's a kind of visible loss.
Yeah.
And the other one is the subtle one. He loses his values.
Yeah.
The real values.
Yeah.
And that stings more than losing Vachana.
Yeah, is that an inevitable thing, or can someone hold on to their values in today's world? Because has to be some kind of if you put in a situation like he was, where he suddenly had to come up with 8 lakhs to pay to an unscrupulous builder if he had to get his house that he had invested the rest of his savings in. How do you protect your soul? I mean, surely that brown book with vachanas helped him internally, but in an external way, when you have to engage with the real world, is it possible these days?
No, actually, see, when your loss is a value loss, a value of any kind, or it could be a cultural value, or it could be a spiritual one, or a living value, as it happened to him, the loss is significant. And sometimes, that wound caused by the loss never heals.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We are all worried that we lose our native tongue. That's the value loss.
Yes.
But if you see closely, more than a loss, there's a kind of compromise. To gain a new value or to gain a new benefit, you compromise your old value. To become global, share your local value. But the thing you don't realize was that these value systems are also complex and so detailed. They are like the giant chemistries.
Yeah.
You heard one, the other one gives.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is something I try to capture at individual level as well at the
Society. But at every stage, if we have to gain something, we have to lose. Of course, like you said, and change is constant. So, is it better philosophically to make our peace with change as a constant? Is it possible? Because your novel, one thing I have to let everybody know is it's deeply philosophical. That's what stays with you. That's why it stays with you well after you've finished turning the last page. If you revisit it in every interaction you have in the city, it comes back to you and you say, am I becoming Mr. Shivaswamy? And as we grow older, at least I find, you feel more and more pushed to a corner because it is the world of the young. It is a world of the young and the forward thinking. So as you get older, there's that loss also. It's a loss of his age of energy, where you can make things happen.
So, you mean, you have two worlds, you stay in one world.
Yeah.
Is that something better for him?
Yes. Like in one of his friends that he grew up in the mud with, Neelakanta, he's very easily able to choose the spiritual path. He just completely rejects the world and walks away. But Shivaswamy is not able to do that because he's drawn by both. And therefore, he's not able to become completely materialistic either. So he's caught in this Shankusvarga, which is, so are we all in some level of the
We are
out there. Yeah.
We are all. See, the exact problem of this character, this guy, is that it doesn't fully belong to one. He always gets a dream.
Yeah.
Two boats go side by side, and he jumps from one, but he fails to reach the other one in between the grounds. So that is really represent his mindset.
Yes.
So the two boats are the Siddhaganga Mount where he grew up, and the other one is Bangalore city where he's trying to get adjusted.
Yeah.
And like his friend Neelakanta, he couldn't absorb renunciation completely. And like his other friends, like Dawal and Shankar and others, he could absorb the material life too completely. And he becomes in between. He tries to change the world. Actually, in the novel, his guru, Shivaswamy once tells, one should have unwavering faith to reach another port before you jump into one. Exactly. So actually there was a line in the Kannada version which got which got removed during the editing process for English, and I'm really regretting I should bring that back. It says that there's no halfway measures in enunciation. Yes. If you score anything between 0 and 99, what you get is samsara, the handling life. Only a perfect 100 can open up the path of enunciation. So in that aspect, we are all like Shivaswamy. We are all samsara. Here we now score 100 in that path. That's Shivaswamy's problem too. And so coming back to your question, should we stay in one word? I don't know. Because now we just raise these questions. We should find the answer.
Yes, yes. Thank you. And on that note, are we done? Or do we have some time? No, we do have some time now. 3-4 more minutes.
Yeah.
Isn't it like I mean, we are all, if spiritual versus samsara is one kind of duality, what about like the sadness of the immigrant, this sense of loss? Anybody who lives in a different country from his own, they are also always caught between never being here and never being there and arguing for. So that is a constant kind of thing in our lives.
That is constant kind of thing is there, right? See, actually, for make it easiest, I took 2 boats.
Last step very powerful.
But yeah, multiple boats. Yeah. Your literature could be a kind of one boat. Yeah, as well. When I sacrifice my time for writing for 3-4 hours, there was a sense of guilt. Troubles us. How much money that time?
No question. He is the writer, he is the writer. That's a very lovely question.
What are my quarrels with the author of the book? Yeah. So, fortunately, for this version, I am the author, I am the co-author, I am the translator, I am the coordinator, I am the pen supplier and everything. So, things were fine. But if your question is the original character in Kannada version, I will translate it.
When you are trying to do the translation, you have to compromise with the author.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that part we can have.
Yes.
With your own self.
But basically, the question is, I think most of us have, the things writer and the translator. The questions are being spoken a lot. The sequence between writer and translator. What we have to do is, what's the pros and cons of writer and translator being the same?
Yes.
You can tell the pros and cons both.
That is something I'm very lucky for this book because the writer and translator are same, right? See, one of the self-translation has its own advantages and serious disadvantages too. One of the advantages is the creative freedom. The creative freedom is, I consider this book as my second draft almost for a new set of readers. And I had complete freedom to change it. Fortunately, my translator didn't have to go to the original author to get the permission, as well those things happen together. So that is really the good thing. As well, the good thing is that since I am the creator of these characters, I know these characters well. So when it comes to translating fiction, we always talk about soon we talk about translation. We always think that language takes the center stage, right? That's part of it. That's true. Especially that's very much true for non-fiction. When it comes to fiction, more than language, understanding the depth of the characters, understanding the psychology of the characters, and using the language to align with the psychology of these characters is very important. And I could be able to do that because I have created these characters.
But I have a question here. So when you got to see that, right, translating, any time you felt that you should cross the border of the original writing and have to change this character or should I change grossly this incident? Did you anytime feel during translation, or you always committed to the original thing? This is what originally I had created and I have to translate?
No. Actually, I tweaked it a lot from Kannada version. And And that's a good thing as well, bad thing. With my experience, I can tell you that. The good thing is that you can make it with an idea that I am translating this for a new set of readers, and this is my idea of this new set of readers. I can do that, which I did. And your editors and publishers expect that. But the bad thing is, this is something Jhumpa Lahiri identifies. She is one of the best self-translators among contemporary writers. She translates from Italian pages, right? It's the self-scrutiny. To translate it, you read it so many times, you scrutinize your own work so much, it's slowly your work gets destabilized. Slowly it unravels itself. Really it happens. And I know it's not ready for that much scrutinization from its creator. So that's a big problem. So let me stop here.
Thank you. So much.